What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. This is a tricky one. I took notes, and we're filling up a little bit of time until we get to 30 seconds. Today was very busy. Lots of stuff going on. Exciting though, additional responsibility, lots of extra work, but you learn more in these sorts of situations. The problem with incels is most of them are gutless pussies. I spend a lot of time thinking about what happened to Incelcore and what happened with Incelcore. Because holy shit, that was like the Hopeville of people. And as death memorialists, you look through the records, a lot of things went wrong, a lot of attacks happened, all at the same time. But that alone, even as bad as all that was, everything that went down, that shouldn't have been enough to kill the momentum that was building, the organicness of it, the meatiness of what was there, or what appeared to be there. And that's what I've been trying to figure out is something was there, but I think it was mostly accidental. See, when a group or a subculture challenges an authority and has legitimacy, trying to throw water on it is actually like throwing gasoline on it. And even though we live in this era of rebellion dicksuckers and punk is not dead and all this shit, this useless shit, all these movements, all these tender sentiments, none of them go anywhere because there's no passion there. There's no righteous, indignant fury, and there's also no capability or desire to do any real damage. Incelcore blew up because there were a lot of keen, accurate criticisms of the establishment, of culture, of people, all kinds of people. There was a lot of passion, and although I'm willing to bet most Incelcore enjoyers lacked the conviction to take any real action, there were people who did. Whether or not they were actually associated with the subculture or the vibes, which I have a feeling most of them weren't, but their actions got co-opted, which is funny. Well, not exactly co-opted, I think it was more of a mutual thing, because there was that period in which people assumed any incel type person was a shooter of some kind. And then instead of being controlled by that label or that assumption, it got flipped into a power thing. And it's funny the way that works. It was a combination of grievance, aesthetics, and the illusion of force. It was a scary thing, it was a power thing, it was a truth thing. There are a lot of excellent X-tier songs. So what happened? Because this wasn't a saturation bombardment, because you can rebuild from that. And I don't think it was just a nuke either, because although the ruins of Incelcore are irradiated, it wasn't total, it wasn't complete, but it did a lot more damage than you would expect it to, or that it should have done. And originally I blamed most of it on tourists. And I think that's part of it, but I don't think incels got greatly replaced. I think most incels were Indian in their hearts to begin with. And that's why there is a sour taste in my mouth. I was listening to two songs a lot earlier. One, I was listening to People Power by Screwdriver. It's called People Power on YouTube now. And the second one I was listening to was Fuck You, That's Why by Smut Peddlers. And I was thinking about the way punk energy has never been strictly tied to one ideology or another. Punk is very fascist in that way. It's fluid. It is the black angel happy to lend her power to whoever is angry enough about something to wield it. And specifically, I was thinking about fuck you, that's why. I was thinking about the way if you want to live free, you need to be willing and able to destroy things or to trample on other people for no reason other than fuck you. Abrahamic religions have been a disaster for freedom because they make, even in atheist societies, in which the majority of the population is atheist, as long as you have enough Abrahamics around, they will instill in you, and maybe it's not strictly an Abrahamics thing, but there's some mixing of poisons here. They implant in the deepest craws of your brain the idea you shouldn't trample on other people, or you shouldn't fuck other people over, at least for your own benefit. If you've been given approval by an authority figure, that's fine. But telling some shithead to go fuck themselves and to fuck up their stuff, you're programmed from so young not to do that. That's what socialization is. But the problem with socialization, especially if it's like this is like some Nutrigrow shit thrown on what socialization would have already done, is it makes you really unwilling to stand up for yourself or to hurt other people to defend yourself if they seem like they are the ones accepted by the majority, or they seem like they're the ones in the right. You're programmed not to do that even as your life gets all sorts of fucked up. You need to train yourself in casual cruelty at the least if you want to be able to stand up for yourself, what you want, what you believe in, against mobs. But see, most incels never wanted the power of self-determination. What they wanted was the hurting to stop. Scott Pilgrim versus the World ruined an entire generation of women. The one part of that song that always bothered me, I'd still hit if I could. That's called foreshadowing. As long as most of these people get a semblance of what they want, they'll do or say anything for anyone. What they want is acceptance, or at least toleration, by the majority. So yes, tourists did flow in, and they did fuck things up. But the death blow happened when a lot of these incels realized they had an opportunity to jump ship. Why is it important Incelcore is called Incelcore, even if the music you like in it has nothing to do with celdom, or if you aren't an incel? It's important because it's like the bright colors on a poison dart frog, or the patterning in a rattlesnake. It is a fuck you thing. It's important because it's intended to make people uncomfortable. That's where you derive a lot of your power from. And this was going to be its own separate video, but I'm so disappointed in the queer community and in queers. You should have never gone mainstream. You should have gotten your rights, you should have gotten your protections, you should have slowly psyoped people into liking you, even though really they already did. This is a funny thing. You speak to old people who were raised by even older people. It's not like anything in the queer community was new. Even in the early 1900s, even in the late 1800s, you guys are at your most influential when you are underground. There was a time when a dude in drag was like a gun. That was dangerous. That was potent. Now people roll their eyes at you because you're mainstream. You suck, you're boring. And there are consequences to being boring, which is a nice segue back into Incelcore. You rebranded, these people rebranded, and they started selling merch. Incels Disneyed themselves. Thank God, on one hand, thank God, e-punk exists. Because now there is a Weenie Hut Juniors branding to send people to who either can't take the heat in the kitchen or never really belonged in the kitchen in the first place. It's useful because it's a mask that doesn't attract ire. And if you want power or self-determination, not only in this stupid little subcultural sphere, you need to be willing to take ire. However you deal with it. I don't deal with ire very well, but if you don't accept it, however you deal with it, you're never going to get anywhere. Hiding from ire, it's an early warning sign of weakness, of Judas's. Paulie from The Sopranos wasn't killed because he would never call himself an e-punk. Paulie was a true cell. So why did Incelcore, incels, take ire in the first place? Well, I don't think it was a decision, is my point. Dudes like that were backed into a corner, and they reacted because there was nothing else to do. That's why it happened so fast. That's why the early days produced so many good artists. An animal backed into a corner will fight brilliantly. But then, once an out is presented, they'll take it. Even if that out isn't into some equality or happiness, it's an out into indentured servitude and irrelevance, because that is a level of suffering they can bear. Most incels don't want power. They don't want greatness. They are infected by Abrahamism. They're infected by liberalism, which is the white picket fence shit these people jerk off to, by the way. What they want is not to suffer. They aren't taking on suffering to grow stronger. They suffered because they had to, and then the moment they don't have to, even if it's a lesser suffering, they'll take that. That's what most of these people do. Anything to be an eighth accepted by the majority. They were the lowest rungs of right-hand path people, pushed into the left-hand path, and then allowed back into the right-hand path later. And that's why Incelcore on the artist's side feels dead. Because the ones who flipped, it's not like they did a pink guy Joji thing. I don't know of any of them who are doing well or are achieving any level of fame. Because although you may be allowed to swim with the ducks again, you're still an ugly duckling. Once Incelcore got popular, or at least popular enough with the majority, because they recognized there was power here, there was marketability here, there was edge here that they could neutralize enough not to be actually edgy, you realize or you find out just how many people are willing to sell their souls for a slightly more comfortable pillow. Anything but tell people to go fuck themselves, unless there's the smallest out. The lack of conviction is what kills me. I was watching a video yesterday. This German dude was talking about why he's leaving Germany and why Germany has gone down the shitter. He listed all these reasons, and it's clear what he's talking about. But then he says, but I don't want to blame immigration. Okay, so this German is going to move to your country and then not blame immigration there. Why? Why is he doing that? And why will you allow him to do that? Because you don't have it in you to tell people to go fuck themselves. that you don't care if they die, that you don't care if their children starve, that their children are put in cages. And it's funny because you can see this vulnerability, and the immigration shit is fascinating. If you're looking at it from a human level, how do these people operate? Not abstractly, literally as people. What do they do? What do Indians do? They mob up and they moralize at you. And they do this because it's effective against the weak, pussified, e-punk mind. Okay, while you are fantasizing about saving Europe, although I don't know how you're going to do that without stepping on some toes, Europe's lost, and I don't want you coming to the United States. We're full. You don't have it in you to tell them to go die. You don't have it in you to tell them we will remove you. And then they'll hit you with the peer-reviewed shit, the logical shit. And it's not logical. It's like do you think a parasite a parasite will give you 20 peer-reviewed studies as to why parasitism is a good thing? And it probably looks really convincing, it sounds really convincing, maybe it's even rational to your brain in a lot of ways. That's the crazy part. It's still a parasite. You need to get over this. You need to break your brainwashing, to break your conditioning, and tell people like this to go fuck themselves. And that's one of the reasons these statue profile picture dudes, the paper clips, of course, the pondering llamas of the world, they make me sick. Because what you're doing, you think you are presenting yourself as this intelligent, cultured person, but what you're doing is you're signaling weakness to parasitic mobs. And not just mobs of actual immigrants. Parasites within your own borders. The brain parasites. You are telling them if they want to control you, all they need to do is lean on you in this intellectual or historical sphere. Okay, the ways you try to build yourself up are the ways you're telling people to attack you. This is a culture game. As long as your brain is on Abrahamic shit, is on liberalism shit, or freedom shit, or justice shit, or happiness shit, or kindness shit, there's a Starman, Superman shit, you are telling people you are vulnerable to manipulation. And here's how you can manipulate me. Because I am subject, my soul, my body, my interests are subject to this thing outside me. And it's all based on mob approval. These are different faces of the mob approval hydra. It's a problem being raised in a state like this. This is pointless to talk about. Nothing will change until enough people develop the conviction necessary to put their interests over the approval of others. Incelcore did that in the beginning because there was no option but to. But then you give them the option and they fold big time. Now you have dudes who get excited about Star Wars telling you how you're supposed to act. Again. You have dippy-doo young women telling you how to act. Again. That's the problem with Incelcore. A diamond that wanted to be a diamond that wanted to be coal. Everything people said was wrong with Incelcore was exactly what was right with it. Right about it. What it derived its strength from, where people got their capacity for greatness from, and now it's mostly over. Thank you, spineless men. Thank you, vulture women. But it's not all over. Because that angel of death never dies. I feel like I'm doing one of those credits rolls from an old movie or something, where everybody ended up. These days, Our patron in black still gives the Incelcore remnants some of her power, but it's taking on a more interesting form. The cockroaches who survived are evolving. It's not literal retards screaming into microphones alone anymore. There is a rising level of sophistication. Even the ones who are retard screaming into a microphone alone maxing, which is the cool thing. The retards are malignantly retarded these days, and I like that. Do you remember the time in industrial music when it actually sounded ass? Some Incelcore artists have gone ass-pilled, and although not all of their music is pleasant to listen to, that anger is still there. And it's evolved, and you can get into it sometimes. Other Incelcore artists have gone for a more abstract sort of feel. And although lots of their experimentations are ass, although not ass, some of their stuff is good. And others still, I like how much Stellaris terminology we've been using lately. Some surviving cockroaches are going the, if in Stellaris terms, the genetic purity route. They're doing classic Incelcore and trying, it's like motors. You can go with nitrous, or you can go with a supercharger, you can go with a turbo, or some special motors kick a lot of ass naturally aspirated. That's the camp I like because I hate change, and although a lot of dudes in this sphere suck, and not even in an ass-pilled way suck, just straight ass, some are really good and they're getting better. And although some of the classic problems remain in all camps, there is a ship rats can jump onto now. So what we're left with is a group of monkeys rebuilding a rocket, and in some cases making progress. The throne is still there, and it's not an illusion this time. It's not synthetic. And I think it's a matter of time until people get angry enough and also have enough conviction to tell polite society or aspirational society or indentured servant society to go fuck itself, and then we'll have something brilliant again. And real this time. Or maybe not. It doesn't really matter if not, because if not Incelcore, then something else will take that throne. But I hope it's Incelcore. Or at least something similar. You don't want to let rappers beat you to this. And it's funny, because maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing. Do you remember the Midnight Society era of underground rap? How good those times were? They almost did, actually. A few of them were in the running, or at least Incelcore adjacent in terms of their vibes and desires. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but I'd prefer Incelcore to be the one on the throne. But you get the message. We will cut it here. Tell people to fuck themselves. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.